Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Not Your Typical Tuesday and we're going to be working on the picture we started on Saturday. This is Hannah Lynn Victorian Darlings is where this picture is from. We have done all of the marker work for the picture. Now we're going to enhance it and give it some definition and some depth with colored pencils. So we're going to start on the back of her dress and on her hat with the yellows and some purple. So we're going to use our Derwent ChromaFlow colored pencils, and we're going to use some yellow with this is amber gold and violet. Now I'm going to switch you on over to the close-up camera here so you can see a little bit better of what I'm doing. And we're going to start with the violet. And we're going to go down through the back of the dress here. And we're going to just add some definition, some shadow areas. Give a little bit of depth to that color. I hope everybody had a good day yesterday. I had a bit of a headache, but otherwise I was good. It went away fairly quickly. I don't like headaches, they annoy me. So I'm just going down following the lines of the dress here, creating those areas of folds. Not too concerned about how far I go down because I will be adding some yellow pencil to smooth it out. Now this is done on marker paper, so it's a lot smoother than say Nina cardstock or anything like that. So we're not going to get as many layers as we would on cardstock. However, because we've put down a marker base, we don't need to worry too much about whether or not we're going to get that depth of color that we would be if we were just doing straight colored pencils. Alright, I'm going to come down here a little bit more. Make sure that I'm still on camera. And this is, basically the same thing that you would do on a regular page. It's just adding a little bit of definition, a little bit of depth to your coloring, especially when you use markers. It can seem a little flat. So when you add the colored pencil on top of it, it gives you the ability to change the depth of your page. It gives you the texture and the folds and the different shadows. You can definitely do this with marker. I just find it easier to do with colored pencil. I have done it with marker, but like I said, I find it easier to work with pencil. Now that's just my own preference and my own, inconsistencies and inabilities with markers more than anything else. All right. So if you find that you have troubles blending markers and just want to do straight marker work but still want to get that depth in, you can definitely do that with colored pencil. All right, now we're going to take the amber gold and we're just going to blend into that violet a little bit. Getting that smoothed out a little. And smoothing that color down into that yellow marker color that we've already laid down. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, just enough to blend it in. And to give a little bit more depth to that line. Also going to go up this line just to cover up any areas I may have missed. Alright, now we're just going to go through, get a little bit closer to the edge here with that deeper color. So putting a little bit more pressure on the pencil, making sure that we get a good solid depth of color there. Same with under this area here, where the shadow from the upper area is going to show. Alright, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. Bring that shadow down. Trying to stay fairly close to that line. And bringing up the shadow of the turn of her skirt. Just lightening my hand a little as I go up, so that when I blend that into the yellow, I'll be able to blend it in. Now this is such a small area, I'm not going to be too concerned about how much of it I cover with the yellow. Just going to leave a light area for some highlight. We're going to get that shadow in there. Like so. Then we're going to take our violet again and we're just going to go up the edge and get that nice and dark. Like so. Alright, now we're going to take a lighter purple and we're going to do the areas on the ruffle here. So we're going to take lilac and we're going to do the same sort of thing but on the ruffles. And then in her area here, we're going to put in some violet for shadow. Now the reason why I'm using a lighter tone or a lighter purple on this area is because it's going to get more sun than this area, and it is a lighter yellow than this. So I'm just getting into those areas that are going to be shadowed. Like so. And then we're going to go over it with a lighter yellow. And we're going to use sun yellow for that. And just blend that lilac in. Let's give a little bit more down here. And basically all we're doing is we're just giving some depth, some definitions, some movement, so it doesn't look completely flat. Now up here in her breast area where her arms and the laces are, we're going to use the darker violet. I'm going to make sure that I put in enough shadow for her arm as well as the laces here. I'm going to go thinner on the shadows down here. Comparative to under her arm, because her arm is going to give more of a shadow than the laces will. Up under here we're going to give more of a shadow from the ruffle. Like so. Then we're going to take our yellow, and we're going to blend that in. And because it's such a small area, we're going to do the whole area. And then we're going to take a darker blue and we're going to put the shadows in for the blue area here as well, just so we don't forget. Because there's going to be a shadow there. And we will forget it if we don't put it in. And basically this eliminates that flat look. Of the dress. All right. And it gives, the visual of the shadow there. All right, so now we're going to move up to the hat. And we're going to start with our violet. And we're going to do work on the yellow areas. So we've got a shadow going in here from the lace there. Same with on this side. Shadow here under the flower. And under here. Going a little thinner here. And giving that curvature to her hat. And then we're going to take amber gold and we're just going to blend into it. Like so. Then we'll take a little bit of the lighter purple. And this is lilac. And I'm just going to extend the blend out a little so that we can get a clean, even blend without a harsh line. And then we'll take the now, because it's such a small area, I don't mind going right over top of all of it. Like that. And then the same down here, we're just going to extend it out a little with the lilac. Just lifting the hand a little. Just making sure that I get a soft edge there. So that when we come in with the yellow, it's not a sharp, hard line. That we're working off of. And again with the amber gold. And then the golden yellow, sun yellow. And just blend it together. Like so. Alright, now for our blue area, so we're going to use Deep Sea. And we're going to put in a blue here, as well as here. And then we've got our lines and our shadows from this area here. So we've got a hard shadow here coming right underneath the hat. So we're going to do the edge here and then just bring that shadow down. Like so. And then bringing the shadow up from her hair. And we'll work on the other side here. And then the same here, we're going to bring that shadow up from under her chin. And then down from the hat. Now we're going to take a lighter blue. So we're going to go in with Glacier Blue. And we're going to soften up those edges. Blend it all together and soften up the edge. Take this one and just lightly put it in there. And then we'll add the lighter blue. With that area, because it's so small, there's no point worrying about going over the entire thing. Now you can, of course, do a marker pencil piece without using the markers for your smaller areas. You can definitely just use the marker for your larger areas and work with your pencil on the smaller areas. So you don't have to feel like you're coloring something twice. You can definitely do that. Because sometimes it does feel a little bit redundant. The one reason why I really enjoy doing it this way is because it gives me the ability to do the picture fairly quickly and then just add the depth to it. Going through with that dark blue into the edge of the hat here where the blue areas are. And behind her head here as well. Giving that shadow to those areas. Okay. I think that's it for her hat shadows, other than the flowers on it. Alright, so since we already have the blue in our hand, we want to put a bit of a shadow here, and here, and here. And then we're going to take our glacial blue here, and we're just going to smooth out those edges a little. Need a little bit of blue here. And we're just smoothing out the edge of the dark blue to create that shadow without making a hard line. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to come down the dress itself and put in the shadows from the ruffle, as well as the shadows from the movement of the dress, like this area right here has movement. The ruffle is going to give a shadow. Now I'm pressing a little bit harder as I get up under the ruffle and then lifting my hand up as I come off of it. Same with when I'm coming down through the fold here. I'm just going to come all the way down, even over top of the green. I'm just going to gently fill that in with that shadow. Now the pink we'll do with a bit of the violet, or lilac I should say. Yeah, lilac. We're going to come down over top of the pink with the lilac. And then we'll also put the visual definition in on the flowers as well, just because it's done with the, the fabric has that visualization built into it there. Just going over the flower areas with the shadow from the skirt with the lilac. Just bringing it out a little bit. And I missed a spot with the yellow. I'll have to go back and add that later. Just make sure that you remember that the fabric is fabric. It's not, the movement of this fabric is going to cause more shadows, and the movement of this fabric is going to cause more shadows on your flowers and that sort of thing than the actual flowers, because they are nothing more than a picture on the fabric. So don't get overly involved in making them look like they're standing up on the fabric, because they're a flat part of the fabric. So you can put the definition in on the flowers, but you don't need to put a shadow under the flowers on the dress, if that makes sense. We're just going to put in a little bit more of the shadow here with the lilac. Like I said, this is all shadowed because of the movement of the dress. Because of the shadows from above as well as down the sides. And of course you could definitely do this in marker. I'm just not very good at it. I have seen some gorgeous, gorgeous works done in marker, doing the entire picture, especially with fabric and whatnot. I'm just not that good, quite honestly. That's pretty much That's my own opinion, of course, because other people say I do just fine. But my opinion is I'm just not that good. So I'm I don't mind adding the details with a colored pencil. So I'm hoping to get at least her done today, and we'll finish her up tomorrow. But this is just the basics of how I do fabrics and pencil over top a marker. I'm just going back and forth between the blue and the lilac, making sure that I get that shadow over top of the floral design on the dress. And that's the main thing, is that you got to remember that the dress itself is a design. It is not an actual plant. It's not an actual um, flower on top of something else. They are all a part of the same thing. So when you're doing your shadows, just remember that that's a flat object. We will go through and add the definition to the flowers, because that's probably what the artist did who created the fabric. They created it with a little bit of depth to the flowers. However, you don't need to put the depth of the flowers sitting on the fabric, because they're a part of the fabric, if that makes sense. Just going through with the lilac here, putting in that definition, that shadow of the curls of the ruffle here. So make sure I get all the way down the edge here. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. If you want to see somebody do fabric with colored pencils very, very beautifully, of course you can watch Appetite for Coloring. Her name is Tonya, and she just nails it every time. It's just gorgeous every time. Another one that does really well with marker work is Belinda from Coloring with Faithful Girl. I think it's 1978. And she is a whiz with the markers. She just does such pretty work with markers. And pretty much anything else she touches. I must admit, she's pretty talented, that one. And of course, we have Emily and Tammy, who are also really talented with marker work as well. Pretty much everybody but me. Actually, I'm not doing too badly. I'm getting more comfortable with them. And that's why I do these months of things like watercolor and markers, because I'm not comfortable with them. And what better way to get comfortable with something but to use it, and to use it with all of you, it just makes it even better. So if you're not comfortable with something, use it. Just give it a try. And if you don't succeed the first time, give it another try. Start off small if you want to. Do a mandala, start off small. Do a small picture with a couple of details and work through it. I would suggest locating some marker paper because that has made a world of difference to my marker work. Now I'm just going in with the pink heather and just softening that edge of the lilac. And just blending it out. The one thing about putting down your marker first is you don't have to put down as much color. You don't have to put as many layers down to get to the color that you would like to see, which is awesome. Of course, I use the Senjoki, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, markers and the Derwent ChromaFlow 72 colored pencils. Now, I was informed that I was saying a blue incorrectly. Let's see if I can find it. Because it's spelled the way it's spelled on the pencil. It looks different than it does in reality. I gotta find the pencil now. Pretty sure it was in these pencils. Yes, this one here. So this one here, I thought it was an L. It's an I. So it's Bondi Blue, which is, I was informed, a beach or lake waterfront of some sort. Of course, my brain has just decided I don't need to know that information, so it's gone blank. But I was informed that it is spelt with an I, not an L. So I will have to correct that on my color chart. I'm glad that somebody let me know so that I wasn't constantly saying it wrong, because I would. So thank you very much for letting me know. But these pencils are wonderful. They are really smooth, very pigmented. And they do blend together fairly well. A lot better on smooth paper than I have found on toothier cardstock. Alright, so we're going to add a little bit of shadow under here on the pink and under here. So I'm just using the lilac because I want the shadow to be there, but I don't want it really dark. So if I was wanting that to be really dark, I would just use the violet. But I want it to be there, but I want it to be fairly light. And sorry about that, I was completely out of your visual range because I wasn't looking at my mark on my thing. Alright, now I'm just going to blend that in. Moving it down with the pink. Like so. Alright, and again on the other side here as well. We're just going to use the lilac, and we're going to put in a shadow from this arm. Like that. I think that's it for the shadows, other than up in her hat area. So I'm going to take the lilac again, and we're going to put the shadow in on the flower area in her hat. Under the brim here. We're just going to feather it out a little. And then we're going to take that pink and we're going to feather it out a little bit more, blending into that purple there. And we're going to do the same thing over on the other side here as well. And take that lilac down the edge here. Like so. And then down the back side here as well. And then we're going to fill that in and smooth that out with the pink, which is Pink Heather, if you're following along with the colors. And we're just going to go through here, just blend all that in, like so. Now we have a shadow coming down off of her hat here, as off of the thing here as well. So we're just going to bring that purple in right up underneath here. And I'm just doing it very lightly, just to give a bit of a shadow. This is, of course, once again the lilac. And then we'll go in with the Pink Heather. And just spread that shadow out a little bit. Do the same thing over here. Bring that shadow in. And then we'll smooth it out. Like so. Alright, so I'm going to switch you over to the main camera so you can see the entirety of it and see how the shadows stand out a little bit more. So we've got our shadows on the skirt here, so it stands out a little bit more. The dimension of it stands out a little bit more. We've also got the shadow on the hat, so it also gives a little bit more depth than just a flat color. Alright, so we are going to work on her skin. So we've got about 15 minutes left. So we're going to work on her skin. So I need a couple of different things. I need the lilac, and I need, where's my, a little bit of melon, and a little bit of salmon, or now a little bit of blush, I think. Should work for what I need it to do. So we're going to put in the shadows from her hair using the lilac. So our base color is already down. Now remember, her hat is covering up quite a bit here, so we're just going to bring that down to about her eyebrow here. Plus we're going to come in to these areas here as well. Now I'm not going to press hard into the center area, but I am going to put a little bit more pressure on the edges where that shadow is going to be a little bit deeper. Like that. Now I'm not good with putting in noses, so I'm just going to put in where the nose should be. I'm not good at drawing anything. Alright, now we're going to go in with our melon. I think. What's this one? Yeah. And we're just going to blend off of that. Put in a little bit more lightly. And just going to layer a little bit here so that we get an even transition from that area. Just building it up and feathering it down into the other area without making a major color change in her skin. I'm going to go in here a little, just feathering it out just a little bit. Now we've got her cheek area there as well. And this area here has quite a bit more shadow because of the way she's tipping her head. So we're going to come down off of there. Same with up in here. Like so. Blend that in. And then we're just going to take that and just put in a little bit more blending into that color. Just going to lightly go over this area, getting that color consistent right across her face. Now we're going to take a little bit of this one. We're going to go into it. So this one is the blush pink. I'm just adding it to that purple a little bit. Just to give that shadow a bit of a more of a skin tone. Just going to do the same thing up here. Not doing it hard, just doing it hard enough to give it a little bit more of a pink tone. And blending it in with our melon. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Just going to come off of that purple a little. Like so. Alright, now we're going to move down her neckline here. So we're going to start in her neckline, which we're going to use a lot of that purple because of the way her neck is turned, as well as where her chin is positioned and her hat is positioned. All of that stuff. This is going to be quite a bit of shadow area. I'm going to go in with the blush pink. And then we're going to go in with the melon. And just blend it all together. And then same with her chest area here. We've got a shadow here from her hat. And here from her dress. And down here from her arm. Over on this side from her dress. Like so. And then we're going to put in the blush pink. I'm just going to feather that down a little bit more here. A little bit deeper in the back. Once again with the blush pink, blending that purple in a little, and then with our melon. I'm going to take that blush pink and that purple, and we're just going to feather it out a little, getting rid of that hard line. That's better. Alright, and then we're going to move down onto this part of the arm, which is going to be heavily shadowed as well. From this arm, from this arm, and then from her breast area. And once again, just feather it out. Then we're going to go in with the blush pink. And we're going to feather that in as well. Going right over top of that purple, giving it a little bit more of a pink tone, and then going over it with the apricot, like that. Any areas that you find it looks a little harsh, just take your shadow color and just very, very gently, very lightly go over it, feathering out those harder areas. Alright, now we're going to do this part of her arm. So we've got a shadow here from this arm. So we've got a shadow here. We've got a shadow here from the turn of her arm, because your arm is circular. Got a shadow here from her hand being behind her head. And a shadow down here. A shadow from her hair. And then we're going to do the shadows here, as well as the shadow over here. So just feathering that out. Okay, so there's our basic shadows in there. Then we're going to go over the shadow areas with the blush pink. And I'm going to extend that shadow a little bit more, I think. Going deeper and darker at the edge. And bringing it out here a little bit further. Like so. I know right now she just looks like her hand's dirty, but once we clean it up, it'll be fine. Alright. Oh, don't throw the pencils, Renee. Alright, so now we're going to go over with the blush pink. Knocking that shadow down a little. Extending it out just a touch, so that when we go over it with the apricot, we can blend it right into the skin tone. And of course we're going to do the same thing for the other arm as well. Alright, now we're going to add the apricot. Trying to make sure that we keep those colors consistent. Though this area here is way more shadowed than, say, this area. Now, if you feel that the area is a little bit darker than you want it to be, just take an eraser to it. Like, for example, this area here, I think I want to be a little bit lighter. So I'm just going to take an eraser to it and knock it down to the base color, like that. Now, because we already have a base color on there of the skin tone from the marker, it gives you a lot more versatility, a lot more ability to change how that looks. Just with an eraser. Alright, now we're going to do this arm, and then we're going to call it a day. And of course we will continue with the background as well as the fountain and anything else on her dress tomorrow during our Wellness Wednesday. So I put out a question yesterday during my video for Matters Monday of, would you like to see a live stream on Monday evening? It'll be on where Emily used to stream. I do believe she is no longer streaming at that time, but if she does start back up again, I will rearrange it because I don't want to go over Emily's stream. But if nobody's in that spot, I will do Matters Monday live at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if that's something that you want to see or want to do, let me know. I might just start doing it and just as an experiment, see if it works out. If it doesn't work out, we can always not do it. It's not a big deal. But if it's something that you would like to see, please leave me a comment in the comment section below the video. And yeah, just let me know if that's something that you would be interested in, or just so I can get a feel of how many people would be interested in that. Does that make sense? I think so. I hate it when I talk around in circles. It drives me crazy. And that sometimes, especially when I'm working on something, my brain does that. So I'm just going through and adding that lilac, making sure I get those deeper shadow areas a little darker, but still feathering it out a little so that I'm not getting a hard line. Alright, now we're going to go in with the blush pink. And feathering that out as well. Just going to feather out that purple down here. Just a touch. Getting a little bit deeper at the line there. There we go. Feather it this way as well. So basically all I'm doing is I'm just constantly adjusting with the three colors. So I didn't think there was enough of a contrast or a movement of line there. So I'm just feathering it out so that when I go over it with the next color, I have something to go over. Alright, now we're going to come up here with the blush pink, going right over top of that lilac and extending it out a little bit. Like so. Make sure we get all the way in there. And then I'm lightening up my hand as I come out so that it gives the melon something to blend into. Same with up in here, going right into the purple, the lilac, and just extending it out, lifting my hand, giving that apricot somewhere to go. And then we're going to take the apricot and we're just going to blend everything all together. Like so. And then we're going to take the eraser and we're going to put in the highlight area on her arm, the center of her arm. Now I don't like the way that that's just sitting there, so I'm just going to extend it down a little. Just softening up that edge. We're going to take our blush pink and we're going to soften up even more. And then we're going to go over it with our melon. Another good thing about doing this on marker paper, it's really smooth. There's really not a lot of reason to need to use a blender unless you're using a lot of colored pencil that isn't blending together. You can definitely use a blender for that. But with the smooth paper, you should be able to just blend it or move it together with its own pencils. Like that. Alright, I'm going to switch over to the main camera so you can see how she looks. And there we have her. She is looking a little bit dirty. not not quite sure why that looks dirty on the camera. But we'll blend it out a little bit more. Maybe take the eraser here and just soften it a little. I think it's just the shadows are a little deep, so we're just going to soften them a little bit. And the way I'm softening them is I'm just lifting off a couple of layers without completely erasing it. And it softens it up quite a bit. That's a little better. Same with down here. We want to soften it a little, but we don't want to lift it all off. And there we have it. So I may go through and do that with a few other areas as well. And just soften up a couple of those shadows. with an eraser. Not using any other pencil, just using an eraser and softening up some of that darker tone. Lifting up some of that purple and lavender color. Lavender and pink color, like so. And just my eraser on the floor. So now I have a little bit of an area down here that a little bit too much came up off of. So you can just re-add that into that area. Like that. Alright, so there we have it, guys. Of course, tomorrow we will continue. We'll put the detail into her dress as well as the definitions in the rest of the picture. Again, this is done with the Senjoki brush markers, and the shadows and details that I've added so far have been added with the Derwent ChromaFlow colored pencils. Tomorrow we will continue with the ChromaFlow. We'll be adding some detail to the flowers on the dress as well as the background. Might do a little bit of detail on her eyes as well. Until then, and of course her hair, because we still have to flick her hair. We've got a lot left to do. Until then, of course, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. And of course, remember to relax, color, and stay safe. Until next time, bye-bye for now.